it, boss!
Hello. Today I want to show you a great use for the Primaris Outriders kit. It's not for making Primaris Outriders. These guys have always been kind of the black sheep of the Primaris update. Where everything else was getting upgraded from tanks and wheels to hovertech, these guys are still on big old regular tires. The kit also doesn't go together very well. You'll usually have quite a noticeable gap down the middle, especially if you're using the push-fit ones that came in the old starter sets. At the very least though, they came in the old starter sets. These guys are pretty cheap to find secondhand. So what are they good for? Warbikers! It's a slam dunk, right? 3 bulky, poorly constructed motorcycles with big guns on top and cartoonishly large exhaust pipes at the back. Makes a perfect fit for the Orks. All you need is some spare lads, some extra shooters, and some bits and pieces here and there, and you're off to the races. If you have the tools, spare parts, and patience, you could probably make some pretty sweet Orks and looted power armor. I don't have those things. This conversion's going to be quick and dirty, proper Orky-like. Let's get started. The first step is going to be removing the tabs from the bottom of this lad if you've got him in your starter sets. Normally these guys go on a 90mm oval base, but Warbikers are go on a 75. He'll still fit, as we'll see at the end. It'll be a bit snug, but it'll be comfortable. I'm just going to clip these off now so we don't have to worry about them later. Now let's get rid of the Space Marine. If you're building this kit new, just don't put him on there in the first place. But if yours is already built, like the one I've acquired, then honestly, just kill the man. Snip out all the parts where he's attached to the bike and yank him right off. I'm going to be clipping off this part of the handlebar here, and then I'm actually going to be cutting off these exhausts. We're going to hold on to these, but we can just snip off the parts where the Marine or his equipment, like this bolt pistol in its holster, actually meet the pipe, as well as snipping off where his foot is joined on to the bike. Just wiggle that piece off, and there we have that part off. Let's take off the other foot. And now to actually remove the Space Marine, if he's glued like this one is, you may have to do some hacking and slashing. I'm just going to have to gouge him out. Let's hold on to the chopper as well. It's a surprise tool that will help us later. Alright, we've cut down to the seat now. We can chop along it. There we go. We can remove that part completely. And with a little tidy up with a knife, we'll have a nice clean seat on our bike. There we go. One Marineless bike. Now, let's put these exhaust pipes back on. A little more chopper work by taking off Space Marine's leg. Cutting it close like this. Do that again. Live replay. Hold your blades flush against the Space Marine's boot where it connects with the pipe. Snip. Oh, this one's still got his bolt pistol. Do the same thing. Flat side against the pipe. And snip. A little tidy up. But you don't need to tidy them too much. If we stick them in on the back, then not only does it kind of look like somewhere they will belong on the bike, but it also makes the silhouette a lot larger and more orky by making it disorderly and kind of exuberant. This kind of quick and dirty conversion is not one where you need to be subtle with your glue, so I'm actually just going to drown this connection point completely and squeeze it in there. I've always found that a final result, if it's visible after being primed and painted, shoddy glue jobs always end up just looking like poor welding, which I think works perfectly for the Orks. This crooked angle's kind of charming actually. I think I'll leave it like that on purpose. Let's try and replicate that angle on the other side, the other exhaust as well. Okay, now we've got our exhausts attached in a way that makes the bike look very silly. I've also sanded down these attachment points to make them kind of look like they're coming out of the framework of the bike rather than just being attached to the outside, with some degree of success. Now this bike is going to need a rider. Luckily, the old Boyz are perfect for this. Their wide stance means that they'll fit over the seat, and their dump truck posture means that if you tilt them back a bit, they look like they're going flying. They're barely able to hold onto the bike because of their own momentum. And speaking of holding on, you may notice that there aren't really any handlebars left on this bike. That's fine. This boy's gonna have his hands full anyway. I'm trying to sell a sense of madcap momentum. Orks using bikes that they barely can control the speed of and flying at an incredible pace. In one hand he's got a chopper. The other hand's going to have a chopper as well, but it's going to be a bit different. In both real-life history and fantasy media, the look of polearm-wielding cavalry is so iconic. It's so cool to me. And since motorcycles are basically just sci-fi cavalry, in fact, by the updated Oxford Dictionary definition of cavalry, bikes are cavalry, thank you Paul Hammer podcast, I want to have some kind of polearm for these orcs. So, and cut off the axe head. And now, remember that chainsword we clipped off earlier? Let's attach that on top, so our boy has a looted long chopper. And now we have a looted long chopper. Kinda cool. Whenever you're working with these old multi-pose boys, it's always a good idea to test the fits and poses of their limbs first, because you might have a great idea for a posture, or a tilt of the head, or some big decoration on the shoulder, and then you try and stick on an arm and it just collides with everything else and won't actually attach properly. I'm going to see how low I can get him to hold this, as if he were using it ready like a lance charge. Can it go further back? Kind of, but it starts to bump into the handlebars. I think this one where it's just tilted slightly up a bit like a cavalryman with a lance. This is nice. Okay, let's set aside the rider for now, and focus on making sure the bike looks proper orky, starting with some more dakka. A pair of bolters on top is nice, but orcs want more guns everywhere all the time, and these big flat panels are begging to have some shooters attached. Let's take these shooters and clip off the arm and the hand holding them. Tidy up the backs a little, and now let's stick them onto the sides of the bike. We're not going to see underneath the shooter, so we can be pretty liberal with how much glue we apply here. If you haven't noticed, I kind of apply glue like a filthy animal. There we go. With that pair of shooters attached, we have double the dakka and a much orkier silhouette. Now let's work on adding a few more of our decorations. A couple of panels with big glyphs from the Death Dreads kit. And your daily reminder that Goths is the best. And I reckon these toe talons from the Death Dreads kit would look pretty cool over the front wheels here as well. Now that's quite an orky looking bike. Let's attach our rider, throw it all on a base, and call it a day. And our looted Warbiker is done, looking flash, dangerous, and extra fast. Here's another one I've completed, and here's their knob Scumgrub, popping a sweet wheelie. All squatted up like this is a pretty good looking bunch of Warbikers. And there you have it, Primaris Outriders to Orc Warbikers. Once you get past the actual removing of the Space Marine from the bike, this is a super easy and very fun conversion. I'm sure there are lots of different ways you could take decorating and changing the silhouette of the bike, as well as how you equip the riders. Working with these models has made me want to do some kind of looted Space Marine thing on another level, including the power armor. The image of an orc knob decked in ceramite brandishing a power fist and a looted plasma pistol is something that I think would look awesome on the tabletop. Have you ever converted something into a Warbiker? What other faction makes for good wheels? Let me know in the comments. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy Orktober!
Sod off!